Centurion in Arlington, Massachusetts at Art on the Green with John Harrison, who recently published his book, Dead in Good Company. Tell us about your story and what inspired you to write this book.
Well, this is a book about Mount Auburn Cemetery, the first garden cemetery in the country, and Central Park was fashioned after Mount Auburn Cemetery. I began going there in the year 2000 because of a casual remark from one of my author friends, and it changed my life and got me into wildlife photography. And I've been going to Mount Auburn for all of those years, and I'm a book distributor. And of course, if you're in the book business, you always wonder if there's a book in you. You can't be hanging around with authors and not wonder if perhaps there's a book in you. And since I was passionate about Mount Auburn, knew Mount Auburn, I at first thought, what about a book of photographs of the wildlife that I had been photographing? And a friend who was a literary agent, a nonfiction literary agent in New York, Linda Connor, when I told her the idea, she said, well, it's difficult to sell a book of photographs to a publisher. Why don't you try some other thing to go along with it? And as I was driving past Bigelow Chapel at the cemetery one morning, it hit me. So, oh my God, I'm an author. I mean, I know authors. I have all these photographs. Why not a book of essays from these authors along with photographs? And that's how the book began. And it was easy to get these authors to join this endeavor because they all love Mount Auburn, knew Mount Auburn, and one by one they all quickly joined the group. And people like Alan Dershowitz, I emailed him one day. The next hour I got an email from him. His only question was, what's the length? A week later I got another email from him. Before I opened it, I figured, well, he has more questions. I opened it up and it was his essay, just like that.
So how long was that whole process? I know some people, it takes them years to write a book, and you rounded up all these talented individuals, and how long did it take you to complete that whole process?
Well, the idea came in 2010, and I started collecting essays and never being sure if we could make it happen. Kim Nagy, my partner, my co-editor, joined me in 2011. I asked her to join me. And then, even then, we didn't start doing it until 2014, March of 2014. And we finished the process in August of 2015.
Wow.
That's how long it took. It was 17 months of hard, scary work. As our book designer often said to me, you have a lot of moving parts in this, and it's going to be difficult, but he was part therapist, so he shepherded us through the scary moments, and there were plenty of them. But finally, it all came out, and it all worked, and here we are. So, but it was a difficult process. It was a labor of love, but it was just very difficult. But we got through it, so that's the important thing.
And where are you from?
I'm from Medford. Grew up, lived in Medford all of my life. Okay. Only 10 minutes from here.
And how many years have you been coming to Arlington Town Day?
Probably about 10 years. So even before this book, I would come here to see Dick. And Dick and I do book events now and then together, so we've been friends for many years. So at least 10 years.
And so what would you say to other authors for next year? It's been a great show for you?
It's always a good show. And if I would have any advice to authors, it's in the technological age we live in, individuals can do this. You know, it's not that it's no longer difficult. You just have to be committed and be willing to work a long time, and you have to be willing to put the money in that it takes to make it happen. But you can make it happen as an individual, and that's one of the things that I learned. You just have to be committed.
And how did you come up with the title, Dead in Good Company?
The title is one of the essays in the book. Kate Flora of Concord is a mystery true crime writer, and when she submitted her essay, I forwarded it to Kim that morning, and an hour later, Kim emailed me and said, not only do I love this essay, but we now have our title. And she was right, I missed it. I didn't see it when I got the essay, but oh my God, she's so right. We didn't even have a working title then. But when we saw that title, or when Kim did, she said, we have a title now. And people have loved it ever since. The president and CEO of the cemetery has written the foreword to the book. because they love the book and are very committed to it also. So the whole experience has been a great one. And I just want to end saying we think that this book would be perfect for a documentary because of the caliber of people that are in it. I mean, Alan Dershowitz, Mayor Ray Flynn, Hank Phillippe Ryan, who was just here, some media people, Dan Shaughnessy, the sports guy is in this book. There's some people from Mass Audubon, Upton Bell, the great sportscaster and broadcaster, is in the book. William Martin, who writes historical novels like Back Bay, Cape Cod, Citizen Washington, he has an essay in the book. So we're loaded with quality people. And with Mount Auburn as the main character, as the backdrop, with all of these authors speaking a little about their interest in particular in the cemetery, I think this is a book waiting for a documentary to happen.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, and have a great evening. The weather's good today. It didn't rain on us, so
No, it didn't.
we're happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing this.